Hello, young legion. Turn. Return. Be told. Boxing is old. Boxing is ancient. But what is timeless leads as the identity the sciences share. This is critical for our example. The cell nucleus, the cell body, and the cell wall. They share an identity that is invisible but still discernible. But it's still discernible. I am not a doctor. I'm not a police form. I'm not a criminal. I'm not a judge. Since founding the short words of the American species, I'm not a Native American. But every person is a native pure by this identity of volume that is only increasing. All exceptions in exception nature are a demonstration of it. Because where and how we are valued as forever nature. And where and how there is an exception for that. And when we are exception nature as that. As temporary positive. Temporary forever nature. Where and how we are only valued as what is simultaneous. It's complete possession of itself. And this is observable through a science that needs to make treatments of positive. Positive is distinctly 5 identities of semi-nature that are bound by its own and has its own. It is simultaneously, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously also bound 3 ways. For example, those ways. Distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously. And sequentially. The value of sequence before now. Before what is active now. Before the value of the finite now. The smallest detail. It is already progressively valued to what is the quality of our fact treatment nature here and now. We could ignore this native system. We could blame it on other things. It's true. See, truths are used for lies. Other things other than self, why no one could fathom. How and why we entertain. Quality of fact treatment nature, quality of science treatments. With passions and emotions only dishonest. Otherwise, the real answers, science, real honesty, would have revealed what is actually our means. It is recorded since before cars. Predicate acts delivery system method that had already been entrenched in North and South America. That had already been entrenched upon the surface nations, the surface names of the identities individually grouped in together, associated with the fact treatment nature, breaching method against Native Americans A through Z, against colonists A through Z, and against those other countries involved with that, where and how everyone's syntax nature, fact treatment nature. This method, /S, knew that its method, simple method, would cause nature. It would cause nature to make negative value nature progressions acts of natures. That it knew. Everyone would have to blame on other things other than themselves. Simultaneously defending that. Simultaneously making treatments of positive and negative. Simultaneously increasingly valuing that. And simultaneously valuing it simultaneously. Increasingly valuing it having been that way. When people make mistreatments about what Jim Crow laws are about, especially people that know most about it, the facts about it, so believing correlation / discorrelation is a trinity in relationship to what is distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously. Volume science is identity of relativity as its identity of volume, as subject /S, as its identity of volume's identity of relationship to itself, as subject /S, and as the relationship to, and as the value of that only increasing too, as it is actually observable, also as subject/s. So English was revealed with the other languages. And then in ancient times, then reception of that science became tactically, criminally foreign influence. People were hurt, tricked, and persuaded to react as factual in nature to what no one was not logic, was using everyone's identities, where they have to then defend themselves. In other words, they made problems, specifically because it knew with all that, everyone would miss what all the victims at the same time, fake sites had nothing to do with it, were doing where they were defending treatments of campuses, which are an extension of the ancient, timeless republic that was revealed before sciences became tactically, criminally foreign influenced in semi-ancient times, before modern religions in latter semi-ancient times. Thank God with counters and damage control to this. But those counters were not completed and are not completed because we do not have free speech. And simultaneously then, since before the modern religions till now, while we don't have free speech, offensively everyone's pretending other. Mandated law is prevented. Then they pretend people make conspiracy theories. They fabricate audio and video. We have long originally and still had criminally foreign influenced treatments at the all interbranch locations per a method that has victims. But you have to discern how they're victim predators, though, is how you can discern it in relationship to the breaching method that works the same exact way computers work and work with database relationships, which is in books, is not in books. I learned from a professor, I forgot his name. This is all with Central Connecticut State University. Now, there's former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and federal criminal co-defendants of his in a 2006 district court case in Connecticut that also in other cases leading up to and in the World Trade Center attack interstate, having been involved with remote uses of the court next to the courtroom, the Ninth Circuit Court, right next to the World Trade Center attack towers, right before they were attacked. For example, it was proven that documents had been post-dated from inside the court. Documents that had been brought to the court and time-stamped timely. They were post-dated from inside the court and presented to the panel of judges in the Ninth Circuit Court right next to the World Trade Center, right before it happened. Now, there were also the investigators of it attached me to fake conversations with themselves about it. These are also investigators and judges associated with investigators. There are police forms that are doctors of psychology, and they are black and white, also recorded and involved with race-related passion crimes, roles, interbranch men and women, where it is also sexually natured crime roles, where there are also delusions and rules crimes predators. And the only thing that gives me or will give everyone the courage to get rid of this once and for all, fake law, fake justice, fake news. WFSB has also recorded, confessed, demonstrated they're being coached to hide how they attach me and others to fake locations through time. Little kids. They did this with proven sex offenders that were recorded before they got caught, and since involved with locations. They were involved with identity theft, frauds, falsified police reports, stacking methods of roles afterward, but tied to a method that have a whole bunch of our interbranch leaders through time, intercampuses of each age and nature, kept needing to hide life progressions, kept needing to pretend to be integrity, right where each age of fact, treatment nature, correlation nature actually has the ability to be honest. They're teaching a fake honesty, and they're doing this with positive and negative. on each campus, sickly distinctly. Every single one, to keep effectively how sickly non-distinctly from being discerned. Not one has learned. So the short words will protract. But first we have to be allowed those short words. The Connecticut, the branches of government individually grouped and together, they have methods of hiding where and how they have been criminally foreign influence with each fact sheet. There's hundreds of nations at once, individually grouped and together, shared policing here and there, and or shared private and overt criminal enterprises, people associated with the body dumping spots of a serial killer per them, per their roles with him, before the people that guard him in prison, and the people that train them in their campuses, and their roles with locations next to campuses and next to the businesses. All these places, when we speak, we're talking about sequence relationships. When we're using each other's name, we're in a projection that has been using each age of fact, cheaping nature, sickly, distinctly. Now this is worse than just interstates, and this is worse than just internations. And this is worse than just internations individually grouped and together. And there's easily, instead of perpetually self-valuing the negative value nature progressions, causes, actual, blamed by other things other than themselves, admitting them admits simultaneously free speech to and means to use, where and how, by discerning not only what is positive and negative simultaneously to our own identities, but what is simultaneously positive or negative to its system that causes evolution's fruits and gifts, and further makes inventions work or not, and they are further positive or negative or not, including anything that can be made up, including the value of our nature. So on Wikipedia, I read that the church asked George Washington not George Washington, the plan with James Madison and the Native American, no chief and president. There's a conflict they weren't capable of being. They aren't capable of answering yet. Until as these short words protracted that are correlation/discorrelations per its native system, per its proper syntax by achievements of positive and negative. We have men and women interbranch with criminally foreign influence readings of statutes. Now, admitting this, in other words, we have people with the Justice Department, all positions of them. The reason that is so corrupt and haven't been found out is because how differentially all, even just regular killers and serial killers, people are kept needing to hide, and people that associate with the locations where the body dumping spots are. People associated in their exits of highways, where good things happen and where bad things happen simultaneously. This is a simple method behind what keeps all roles with method self-valued, preventing the simple words that should be, need to be liberated for each age of fact, nature. It's all right, they have their theories. But we have to, in other words, there is an identity of relativity. That's what science has an obligation to be led by, not theory. And it is an identity of relativity onto 1/3/5 identities of sequence /simultaneous nature, where its simultaneous nature is volume science. It has now when those positive, the ancients would say, correlation reveals. The ancients would say, when they would say, "Oh, thank God," they think that the identity of what causes evolution's fruits or gift, that identity of the volume that only increases, it's positive. That truth or fact or the thing that is referred to as being you're saying thank God about is positive sequence nature true. The order of the finite. That means the smallest finite detail true. Positive onto where everything positive and negative is there's further positive coming. Positive's coming anyway. See, exceptions in exception nature, systems ulterior with positive and negative. We're engineered to prevent free speech. We're engineered to prevent our founding fathers from ever stepping out of the phase they entered. Note how George Washington had to leave slavery in the North and the South entrenched. He had to meet with the French general in Wethersfield, Connecticut, where slavery was left in the North and South. 1822, they still had slavery. He had to meet in Wethersfield, Connecticut, to secure the French general's help to win the last battle of the Revolution. He had to first secure the French general's help. So they put everything, oh, this general's great because look at this tactic here. They leave out. Everyone was a marionette, individually grouped too. And together. And so the ancients would have known, and the semi-ancients knew, that nature would demonstrate negative value, nature progressions, action. They already understood what a criminal enterprise is. And in other words, what criminal insidiousness nature is. Criminal insidiousness nature is of positive treatments and of negative treatments. So they prevent people's short words. Like if you call up to report things properly, and where there is they have a swift response. The response is with the interbranch, because they've been using as victims. They're kept easily needing to hide. The way they do it is easy. They kept needing to hide life progression, so using investigations themselves, self-valuing investigations themselves, used to hide their own personal, and people tied to them, their own personal finite sequence shifts, active progressive lives and roles, with evidence racketeering, identity thefts and frauds, as clear as day. Even if you want to say that in legal terms yet, as clear as day, is identity thefts and frauds against black and white. Of course, worse for black, by that breaching method that was entrenched here before our founding parents were born. In our faces, campuses, these are only one problems in it. They also separate problems, specifically so that people can blame on other things other than themselves, the original causes of it. What are the causes? Why are there racial disparities? Because there was a breaching is a breaching method where fact, cheap in nature, identities of the law were used remotely. Just like they were fact, cheap in nature slaves, and that's why they're forcing people to be worse slaves, because that was forced. They're calling the law what it is without the nature of the law, and they're keeping it that nature that everyone was propagated as victim predators incapable of answering simple questions. What is Jim Crow laws about? It's about a predicate acts delivery system method, a fake sides, fake alternative propagation method to get over on Trinity's correlation nature. And the Trinity is 5/3, because it's 3, but we are inside it for the way. It has complete possession over space/existence, and both space and existence and the slash are 3 bound identities of the same identity of forever nature that has complete possession over all parts of space/existence. The same way your complete identity has complete possession over all parts of your body, all identities of your body, individually grouped together and simultaneously. Your identity, everyone's identity, we are simultaneously semi-nature relationship to it, identity of relativity, identity of volume. That one we all are the same exact way, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously. This is volume science. See, we have theories offensively to keep people fighting and to keep sense and sensibilities, pretending they can't use correlation to reveal that people they call good and bad. Everyone's self-valued as victim predators. It's because of this. Everyone's using other people's names. And see, the proofs of this are with what is actually recorded, the uses of the ground locations. Also the locations next to the media locations. And I don't know this Chet Casper and the Casper family and people associated with medical locations and with downtown Hartford and on all Fox Connecticut News with the Domain family. They tried to set up the exception. They were recorded, confessed, demonstrated, involved also with the Mendez police, with downtown Hartford locations next to Fox Connecticut News, and on and off the Weathersfield Police Department, fabricating audio and video, fake ties between me and themselves, and tied to that intercity. Their roles with fabricated words attached to plaintiffs in cases after the fact and before the fact. They're lying. They've been lying through time about what is actually proven in courts, because they've had because of the relevance of their roles with the recording increasing on and off campuses predicate acts roles that are connected. So there are further with the campuses in Weathersfield through the past years, people in intercities that are also with campuses in West Hartford, New Britain, and Sandy Hook, Newtown, that are also with the judges and prosecutors recorded through time, involved with medicines crimes, and with drug crimes, and with physical delusions, and with corrupt natures, and with overt criminal enterprises, and with private criminal enterprises differentially, and with killers and the people associated with the body dumping spots, like a Cortina Tile, I believe is the name. One of the names brought up and locations brought up by repeated confessions by a stranger named Enzo Fianza, and I forgot his cousin's name. And they're with male and female, with the Coast Guard, and with foreign and domestic, involved with overt criminal enterprises, and with interbranch and people on and off the state of Connecticut judicial branch offices, and all along Route 3, involved with identity thefts and frauds with them, already in cases through time, already with killers, already with bad people, child offenders, already the people they lock up away and have to lock them up. They're already involved together with actually recorded. They've been replacing what is actually recorded on Facebook, tied to their sequence shifts. The same ones involved with the World Trade Center attack, the news media. They attach the families from they attach people from other countries, and all the people involved with the World Trade Center attack. They had already attached their representatives and our own citizens to fake words, fake audio and video transcripts. They just poke fake quotes. They've been doing this in cases through time. They are kept also with the people. So this is through time. There's an O'Brien family, and there's a former Mayor Gold, and there are other mayors recorded, confessed, and demonstrated who had my name used in the backgrounds with them. And they have criminally foreign influence readings of statutes. There were also lawyers associated with the FBI who've been stealing, resources, because they've been keeping both political parties to cover up their remote uses of themselves and their roles with the locations next to the media locations. And while they're extending this, because they use a crime method of pretending they don't understand people over the phone, and then they replace that with fabricated audio and video, just like the courts with them do it. So they've been attaching me and other people to fake locations through time. They can't bring up, and they trick little kids to locations. They have little gatherings. They have and it makes it look like you knew the person that you're going there with. And this is also why they were simultaneously doing this on the campuses with the databases. So what is simultaneously is relevant. And they're forcing us to have conversations with other people's names in it. So I need someone to respond for the campuses, because the principal child offender camp, before he got caught, and since there are even women principals, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, being coached to hide with the principal, with the police chief, and with judges and prosecutors and their kids, and people associated, dozens of people with New Britain Superior Court have been doing with the schools, their roles with predicate acts, also with overt criminal enterprises and killers. Since before they got caught, they're pretending people are making allegations because they're also delusions, rotten rules predators. This is what is actually recorded outside of courts. They have a Leahy family of doctors and nurses and people associated with even with EMS, all transport, shipping stuff, involved with them with all kinds of predicate acts, fake conversations. I never had a conversation with them in my life. They're with Hartford Hospital, involved with other people with drugs crimes and medicines crimes, with the Dillon family, and with kids in my area through time. Now, and with the ones with the prisons, also remote uses of business locations and of gyms of all natures, including Connecticut boxing gyms, timed uses of it that are relevant to and as the people involved with predicate acts leading up to roles worse than just sequence shifts, but relevant to the sequence shifts, because the sequence shifts are coupled with simultaneously other natures of motivations missed. Also relevant to how they have this Debbie Gold, I don't know who, pretended other to. She sought me out to record, confess, demonstrate, confirm. Her father is involved. Her brother, and she didn't say his name. I don't know, but she made no sense. Screaming, pretend. They use methods to put little kids in fake locations through time. And they're doing sequence shifts. There is no integrity anywhere in any modern nation. And let alone, that's why in Russia and in America, you'll see they have a pathology of houses that was set up since before their founding. There was forced unity and capable of defending itself and from countering that breaching method that came from semi-ancient times, since before modern nations' religions. So we also have them with weaponized uses of the religious locations. The psychologies, the delusions wrought professionals who have kept this worse than obfuscated from your minds and from your victim predator opinions and convictions and delusions in relative to what denies how fake, improper sciences that we are only capable of being because of a breaching method that was not only exploiting that, but all identity ground locations. So it valued/values actively how the branches of government, individually grouped and together, are methods of hiding how they were already used since they were little kids, per a method that already knew how it was going to take all these identities of industry, all these identity locations, and extend. Some people blame, it's this industry. Yeah, that's the truth, but it's being used to lie. So we're leaving out the finite. We're leaving out sequence true. We're leaving out integrity of fact sheet integrity. We're leaving out how even we're people. That's why we have to start from the first youngest campuses, because it's also how they do off the locations of the branches of government, the locations next to them, off the locations I shouldn't say about the campus branches, cause I don't, but that too, because you can see it through how it's on and off the schools connected, how they set things up and then use it and pretend we can't discern that. Like Central Connecticut State University is involved with state police and with FBI and with foreign and domestic families, with a DeMoro family, and a whole bunch of men and male and females in the intelligence community that are criminally foreign influence, and people on the child sex offender registry involved with identity thefts and frauds, other natures of predicate acts, with libraries with them, with campuses with them, with starting fights with them. They start fights with people. You know, you need to have tactics to go in to get no one hurt when you have real criminals. But you have to be able to address originally and still how the branches of government with the overt criminal enterprises and the private ones are differentially kept needing to hide the same secrets. Also, they're kept needing to hide the same styles of pretending to be able to speak about integrity anyway. They're child abused by this method, clear as day, in the way of the very short words that can only protract properly regarding what Native American rights are about. They're about a breaching method that prevents them from being used by them first. So by anybody. Evolution science does not work without the identity ground. Without the identity grounds, identity relationship to itself distinctly and non-distinctly and simultaneously from and as ourselves. We are a concentrated value. One way where we can't be that, it is a concentrated value. To be that for us. So, please respond to the wire crimes through the last years, and into the prisons, into the interbranch, from Weathersfield interbranch and intermilitary. Knock knock. So America, this is World Trade Center, Connecticut, or tied to the World Trade Center attack locations, and with the wire crime acts and methods, mail crime acts and methods, and online policing, and uses of the sense and sensibilities, use Jane Austen's phrase, of the identities of the online platforms individually grouped together, involve sequence shifts, preventing mandated law and people from settling disputes online, for uses of behavior for that, to force the wrong outcomes, to force roles with self-value, sick uses of positive and negative simultaneously to all locations, sickly non-distinctly, only having been not discerned because of how many sickly distinctly forsaken impositions are upon all locations, each person. It's all right if they want to pretend other, but it will, if they try to speak that, that's why everyone, it can be discerned. That's why no one's responding to me. And because they use this method of attaching people of each age to, they use everyone around them, even their family members, they attach everyone to fake words. They have, the media does this simultaneously. They simultaneously pretend other by pretending that their passions and emotions are only being acted, because we're just reading the news. But then they're in real life, and when they answer the phones in their systems, they know that their systems they're stealing people's identities to fake words, the people around us to fake words. And that's being exploited by a whole bunch of other strangers. And then everyone pretends they don't know what they're talking about. Fix the fake news. Now, so this is also worse than just extortion and torture, as people involved with the syntax racketeering, with the sick fake treatments of positive and negative. And so they want and need, they don't care about soldiers. They want and need hurt victims, they could leverage against people that they're needing their roles with preventing free speech for. And they've been stealing that my identity, other people from the World Trade Center attack location since. The news media with them, preventing mandated law, preventing people. They forced, sustained then and now other natures of child abuses with the Principal Child Offenders Campus that are still going on, and still further sexually natured ones and medical natured ones. There are also doctors, intercities involved with the locations next to the schools. And there's a Lombardo family also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with federal crimes on my street and with Hartford Hospital and in other parts of Wethersfield, and with databases with the people involved with predicate acts with kids, and on the child sex offender registry, and involved with fire departments, and with foreign and domestic, military, with drugs crimes, medicines crimes with kids, federal crimes with databases of campuses that are connected, timed uses of the lie progressions, pretending other with that, where they have uses of that too. They have motivations in relationship to all the evidence racketeering that is relevant, that is recorded, evident, clear as day. When you see the people stacking of New York City, when you see aerial views on YouTube or on anywhere, television, of aerial views of with the pathology of the identity of the ground and its identity of relationship to itself, was it as being and having been afforded, not integrity, needing to pretend other per a method that knew that they were going to have to pretend other as methods, as victims that were forced, tricked, hurt, persuaded to, and worse, only allowed to be able to fathom each self as other, be net pure. Follow mandated law. So also a Bravo network. Please do what's right. There's a Officer Cintron, who's a chief of police from Wethersfield, and is a chief of police years ago, involved with the houses on my street. They recorded themselves, involved forging names, switching names over the past month and before the pandemic, involved further with the Principal Offenders Campus, which was in a couple of years before that, and then through that time, and since before that was caught, there was more involved. This is also how they had the policing of the school through time, how they have stop and shops and stuff like that, and how they have all these other countries, and they have things like that with judges and their family members, like a Della Fera family. I had nothing to do with them. Their ties to our highway, with people that pretend other, that tried to set up exceptions, try to make fights between me and those other people, try to pretend I'm a liar when they're the liars. They have sequence shift roles with that. We have courts recorded, involved, used remotely, timed with overt criminal enterprises of different natures per them, as is actually recorded too, per their relationships to that having been valued, leveraged, timed in relationship to their predicate acts with the wire, forging names, swearing, falsified police reports. They won't even say which officer is which. They say they have one officer named McGee, but they have 2 different times. There was 2 different arrests. The first time they forced me to Hartford Hospital 3 times for mental evaluation. 3 times Hartford Hospital recorded themselves involved with people I caught over here, with my new and past neighbors, involved with predicate acts on intercities, on the campuses, with kids, with doctors, and people associated with EMS and stuff like that, and military, foreign and domestic, and overt criminal enterprises, and doctors involved predicate acts, identity thefts, frauds, fake conversations with me, attaching little kids and their family members and people of every age through time more and more to fake words. They're using the right to lie where they don't have the right to lie. Also, the witness protection program has ties to the street, and the stewards of that are also recorded being and having been used remotely, where and how they have worse than just but elections fraud, clear as day. And they make allegations, and they slander, and the identities of people who have proofs of it, and they know are recorded. They're pretending they don't understand that. With delusions too, as rules, crimes, predators simultaneously. So put something onto paper. Let's go. Then they take Fox Connecticut off the news. They're hiding the fake news. What is with the buildings next to you guys too? And there is an Allison Mulcahy and her sister. She's also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with those people, I don't know, all along the Two-Rod Highway, who went out of their way to pretend other behind my back to people that I also don't know, relevant to and as their roles with the people on the on and off the campuses with predicate acts with the kids of juxtaposed natures too, because there's uses of that, because none of these types of experts have integrity when it comes down to it. If they did, correlation would have revealed the real, what to do, how to cause positive value nature, progressions, acts of nature. This, since before cars, the pathology of homes and means to it, get out of it. Get out of here. Get us a response. New York, get me one person from you. Get a group so no one can mess. And we're gonna deal with it, because every year leading up to the World Trade Center attack and since, they've been stacking fake things in courts, in police databases, in child databases, in private databases, and as people involved with their narratives, you'll see where and how they're involved with overt criminal enterprises. And with the private, even if it's legitimate policing, again, that has to stay undercover or whatever, forget about it. They can't defend what they can't defend themselves. They can't, in fact, cheap in nature. They can't defend. They can't have a conversation on positive and negative as science without needing to value self-value. Tactically, criminally foreign influence premises. Tactically, criminally foreign influences. Physical delusions, sequence shifts, finite, active, progressive lies, delusions, tricks, illusions, identity thefts, frauds, roles. Clear as day. Why? Who denies this? Let's go, because these are also the people, like the O'Brien family. There are other people. There are other people through time, as the people involved with Connecticut boxing gyms, involved with identity thefts and frauds, trying to time with the people from my town. Who pretends to know me in instances, and people I don't know at all. Like, and that admitted that, and then they kept changing their statements online, also because they're recorded and involved with the evidence is actually recorded, where and how the judges and prosecutors that were using investigators, pretending passions, emotions, to hide what they were using. You know, they're using the policing of the internet. Sickly distinctly from the internet companies themselves. They coached Facebook to go before Congress so they could, they're all needed to highlight aggression. They were never capable of speaking for the law. That's one of the things that is true always when you hear that Jim Crow laws. There's a breaching method that divided Native Americans A through Z. You don't know that breaching method coming first through them, then you're never going to understand American history.